So I do this, and just as I slowly readjust my feet, I feel them hit something solid. Someone is definitely sitting on my bed.
Oh my God.
Boo.
Ah.
Happy Halloween.
It is the best day of the year. It's the most wonderful.
We do love Halloween. I mean, I love Christmas too. It's just the whole season, just everything.
October, November, December are great.
Oh, the best.
Mm-hmm.
And this is airing on October 31st, Halloween. What are y'all doing? Are you scared? Do you have Halloween 5 on in the background? Because I do.
I just did too.
You did?
Yeah. What part were you on? That would be
No,
so
I watched the entire
weird.
movie.
Oh, you already watched it?
Yeah, I did. I turned it off.
Okay.
Credits rolling.
Oh, okay. The blonde couple just got killed in mine.
Shouldn't have been having sex in that barn. Should not have had sex in that barn.
No.
Bad idea.
Bad way to lose your virginity is when your boyfriend gets a pitchfork
in the back.
Stabbed into.
Y'all, is it just us? Are y'all lost? We'll walk y'all through the entire franchise.
No, for sure. We have a listener named Judith Myers, and I was like,
oh, yeah. Yes,
are
we do.
Michael Myers' sister. You're the one that started this whole thing. She's like, yeah, you're like the 75,000th person who's told me that. And I'm like, oh,
hell yeah.
Duh. Anyway.
I want to bring up that Rebecca is a little under the weather. Thank goodness this is not her story day.
Oh my God.
She does not.
I don't like to bring my problems to work, but yes, I am under the weather. My throat is on fire. Okay. I'm 70% Dayquil right now. So let's get through it.
All right.
They have perk me up.
Why do they have, I think I've said this before because I had the flu last year. Why do they have at-home COVID tests and not at-home flu and strep tests?
Oh, I know.
It's so annoying. Like, we could do it. Come on. We got those COVID tests out quick. It's 2024. We have a flu test. Come on. Don't make us go to the doctor and get that stupid fucking swab.
For sure.
So there's my spiel.
Maybe it's COVID. I don't know. But it will not affect I'm excited because I don't know any of her stories. Let's go.
Wow. Okay. Y'all really came to play.
Y'all did.
We got a lot of great submissions. I couldn't use all of them. This story would be 3 days long, but we may use them in a different one. So if I didn't use yours, don't be offended. I didn't use a lot of people's. But thank y'all so much for writing them in. I mean, you are the best, truly.
It really does. It helps us out in such a pickle where we're like.
Yeah. And so maybe it'll be a recurring thing. Again, we've said that 100 times. We did one earlier this month. We've done one before, like a long time ago. So we might just throw one in every once in a while where it's listener stories. So keep writing them in. Email peoplearetheworstpod@gmail.com. Y'all got it.
And now you won't be restricted to Halloween themes. Y'all can write them in as you will.
There's only, I think, one Halloween one.
Oh, okay.
Here, to be honest.
Okay, great.
I just wanted scary stories.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one, she actually wanted me to credit her TikTok because she tells creepy stories on there, apparently.
Oh.
I know. We'll go follow you too. No, we will.
Yeah.
It's Morbid Lydia 77 on TikTok. She said, shout that out. MORBIDLYDIA 77. Morbid Lydia.
I want to follow her now.
Okay. Let me start by saying the story I'm about to share happened almost exactly 4 years ago. There are a lot of things I don't remember, so some of the information was told to me by others after the fact.
Oh, no.
That being said, everything is true and really did happen to me, so I apologize ahead of time. I know it's lengthy. Wow. In 2020, during the pandemic, I just moved into a really cool old second floor apartment on my town square.
That's badass.
I know. I'm picturing
Love it.
Yeah, Oxford town square.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the first time I think I'd ever lived completely on my own my entire life, and I was truly in love with the place. One day in late July, I left to go shopping and locked my apartment, something my mother had practically pounded into me from childhood. I never left my doors and windows unlocked. When I got home from shopping, I noticed a few things weren't where I thought I left them. And I mentioned it to my cousin Michelle. I told her I thought someone might have been in my apartment while I was gone. After discussing it with her, we came to the conclusion that I must have just forgotten I'd moved the items myself and I didn't think about it again. A couple of nights later, I was up watching scary movies until about 2 a.m. Oh my God, maybe she was watching Halloween 5.
Maybe.
When I decided to get ready for bed, I remember walking into my bathroom to change into my PJs and do my nightly routine. That is the last thing I remember until I woke up the next day.
Oh.
When I got out of bed, I immediately noticed something was wrong with the clothes I had on. There were those pajama shorts that had the drawstring around the waist. I always tied the drawstrings so I could make them fit. And when I stood up, the drawstrings were still tied, but they were broken, and the shorts were practically falling off me. I told myself I must have moved around a lot in my sleep and the string must have snapped or something. I headed to the bathroom for my morning routine. When I walked by my bathroom mirror, I turned and looked at myself and I didn't see anything wrong, but I felt really weird. Out of sorts, I guess you'd say, even more so than usual after a first wake up. The longer I was awake, the stranger I started to feel. I noticed that I had a headache and my vision was kind of blurry. I went to grab my phone from the nightstand to check what time it was, but I guess I'd forgotten to charge it before going to bed because my phone was dead. I took it into the living room and found the charger and plugged it in. I stood there and waited for my phone to come on, and when it finally did, I was shocked to see it was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. This
Oh
is
my God.
highly unusual for me because no matter what time I go to bed, I'll usually wake up around 7 or 8 a.m.
Oh my God.
This is when I began feeling slightly panicked. Like I said, this was not normal for me. I began rubbing my face and my hands, and that's when I felt something was wrong with my face. I ran back to the bathroom mirror. This time when I looked in the mirror, I discovered that my vision was so blurry I couldn't even see my face. No matter how
Oh.
close I got to the mirror, it looked like a dense fog or when you take a super hot shower and the mirror fogs up, except I had not run any hot water. This is when I realized something was very, very wrong with me. I was disoriented and confused. I walked back into my living room to check to see if my phone had charged enough so I could call a family member or a friend to come over. The phone was only at 5%, so I decided to keep it plugged in the wall, and I tried to call my cousin Michelle or my son.
Oh. How old is her son?
Adult.
Okay.
I picked up the phone and then stared at it. I could not remember how to use my phone to call or text
What?
anyone. I knew that I knew how to use my phone, but for some reason, I did not have the ability to. I was beginning to get very upset and scared, but most of all frustrating because I know how to use this phone, but my brain would not register it at all. Soon
Oh.
after this, a flood of messages and missed calls came through that I was finally able to text a friend and told them I was having some sort of medical emergency and needed him to contact my sister to get someone to my apartment ASAP. My sister lives in an independent living facility. She was born with CP and can't walk. She relies on a wheelchair to get around, so I knew she couldn't help me, but she could get a hold of my son. I was becoming more confused the longer I was awake. My sister had gotten a hold of my son and he was on his way. I thought I should probably go downstairs and unlock the door to the stairway, but I was feeling so strange and off balance that I sat on the steps and inched my way down to unlock the door. I went back up the stairs the way I went down by sitting and inching my way back up. Soon I received a call from my son telling me that the door was locked and he couldn't get in. I guess it was already unlocked, and in my confusion,
Yeah.
I locked it. So I had to repeat the entire process all over again. I opened the door. My son, along with his girlfriend and 7-month-old granddaughter, took one look at me. His eyes widened and he said, "Jesus Christ, Mom, what happened to your face?"
What?
I had no idea what he was talking about. I went back to my bathroom mirror and discovered a horrific sight. I had a huge goose egg in the middle of my forehead the size of a tennis ball. My right eye was completely swollen shut, and I had one hell of a black eye. My left eye was
Oh my
partially
God.
swollen as well. It certainly explained why I slept for 14 hours straight. All the confusion, the headache, the blurry vision I was experiencing, all that
Oh,
explains. I know.
brain injury. You're making me feel like I'm losing my vision.
Well, okay. Hopefully not,
Mm.
because I'm not done. I informed my son of everything I had done that I remember since going to bed the night before, but I did leave out the fact that the drawstrings on my shorts had been broken. Michelle also showed up and told me I needed to go to the ER to get checked out as we kept discovering other injuries on me besides the goose egg and the black eye. I had bruises in the shape of large fingerprints on my upper arms. They were not my own. I'm tiny. I'm 5 feet tall and weigh 117 pounds. It sort of looked like someone had been standing in front of me, facing me, and grabbed my arms to shake me or something.
Yeah.
Then we noticed I had red marks around both my wrists and both of my ankles. I also had rug burns on my shins and knees.
Jesus.
I was still very confused and have absolutely no memory of what took place those 14 hours I was sleeping. It's just a nothingness black hole in my memory. Even when I try to remember now, which I don't force, but I do think about it on occasion. I was taken to our local hospital's ER, which is really nothing more than a glorified Band-Aid station. The nurse practitioner on call kept asking me what happened, even though I kept telling her I had no idea. Maybe I fell or something. Then she asked if I was in a relationship with someone, and I informed her I was single and not seeing anyone at this time. She didn't believe me and had the nurse call the police.
Mm-hmm.
I was confused, so I get why she didn't believe me. But then she said, well, if you don't remember what happened, there's not much I can do for you. But I can tell you with 100% certainty that you did not cause these injuries. Someone did this to you. That's what the nurse said.
Yeah. Yeah.
They found that I had PCP in my system.
What?
She clarified this in the comments. This was a Reddit one that we were talking about. I think the rest were listener stories. I can't remember. Even though she had PCP in her system, which she doesn't do PCP, she was treated as a mental patient and not a medical one. So she was not tested for sexual assault.
What?
She clarified that in the comments. So she has no idea.
They don't test for sexual assault for mental patients?
This hospital does not sound great.
No, it doesn't.
She said, okay, so back to her story. The police never came in to talk to me, and I was discharged into the care of Michelle. I couldn't be left alone due to my condition, so it was arranged that I would be staying the night with Michelle and my Aunt Kay. I was told if I started getting nauseated or began vomiting or my confusion and headache got worse to call an ambulance immediately. Well, that ended up happening about 2 hours later.
No.
I was horribly dizzy, and I tried to eat something because this time it had been over 24 hours since I'd eaten anything. They tried to get me to eat something and I started hallucinating. At first it was auditory hallucinations. I was sitting with my aunt on her bed watching TV when all of a sudden I noticed that the movie we were watching had completely different dialogue than I remember from this particular movie. Then the characters in the movie began speaking directly at me. I don't remember what they said. I kept glancing between the TV and my aunt to see if she was hearing the same thing I was. Obviously she was not.
Yeah.
I was totally aware that I was hallucinating, but had no control over it. Then paranoia started. My daughter called to check on me. She lives in a different town. And even though I was on the phone with her, I was convinced that she, along with several other family members, were outside the house talking about me. That's when I started vomiting and my cousin called 911.
God.
When the ambulance showed up, the police also showed up and they were talking to my cousin. When they asked me what hospital I wanted to go to, I told them the name, and my cousin, who knew me very well, knew I would never ask to go to this particular hospital. That's a story for another time.
Oh.
However, because I seemed, quote, with it enough, the paramedics insisted that's where I go, and that's where they had to take me. I wish now I had listened to her, because it was incredibly late at night, and the hospital I was taken to was 25 minutes away. No one in my family met me at the hospital, and the hospital did not even try to call my family to give them information. I don't remember what I did or what I said to anyone after that. I was so confused and still hallucinating, but it must have been bad because I was committed to the hospital psych ward over a traumatic brain injury for 11 days. They made her stay there for 11 days. Also, another story for another time. Maybe I'll do a part 2 because this is already incredibly long. I still to this day have no recollection of what happened to me. I really don't want to remember, seeing as all the medical professionals and my own healthcare providers saw my injuries and said I must have been attacked by someone. It's scary to think of all the possibilities. Was someone actually hiding in my house that night without me knowing? Could it have been one of the carnival workers I saw walking around town square earlier that day? Worse yet, was it someone I know and still have in my life now? I'm not sure which is worse, not knowing at all or having the memories of it forever. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Isn't that scary?
That is petrifying. Now
She was
I'm feeling those exact same things.
Huh?
Now I feel like I'm feeling those exact same things.
She was attacked in her sleep, given PCP. I'm like, hospital? Did you hear what it said? PCP?
PCP?
I don't do that. I didn't do that watching Halloween 5.
No. Oh my God.
And just doesn't remember any of it. Woke up with like red marks around her wrists and ankles.
She didn't even do a rape kit or anything?
Nope.
That is bizarre. Wow.
How creepy. How scary is that?
That's very scary. And clearly someone came in. Her door was unlocked.
Oh, the downstairs door was unlocked.
Until she locked it again. Yeah.
Right. But she locked it going shopping, then came back that day and was like, or a few days before.
And then didn't leave again, so he must have been in there or something.
Or someone, a maintenance person, someone with a key, a landlord of maintenance, because she was like, I always lock my door.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
That's so creepy.
Story number 2. I'll wait till Rebecca gets done yawning. Sorry, we're boring you.
No, it's not. I've had no coffee today or anything, so I'm just...
Okay. When I was 18, I lived in a suburb of southeast Melbourne, Australia, Noble Park. Our house was the odd one out on a street of 70s, 80s brick homes. Ours was an Alpine-style weatherboard home with a steep roof built in the early 20th century. It was old, cold, noisy.
Love it.
I know. I was kind of love it. You could see the ground through the gaps in the floorboards. I'm like,
Oh my God. Okay.
Do you have rats in Australia? I'm just wondering.
Probably not.
It's like perfect. Roaches. Ew. That's what I think of if I can see the ground from where I'm standing in my house.
Yeah, but they're so... I feel like Australians are so peaceful little hippies that they probably just like, well, they're creatures. They're cute.
Australia, tell us if that's true.
Meanwhile, over here, I'm like, kill it now. Shoot it with a gun. I don't care. Just kidding. Kind of.
Really? I'm not kidding at all. We had a big dog who stayed outside until everyone was home, and then he slept outside in a doghouse at night, mostly in the summer. We also have an indoor cat. The week it happened, I was home alone. My dad was overseas. Mom and sis were visiting family. Again, 18. And a guy, actually. Let me tell you that.
This is a guy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
One night when I was walking home from work, I rounded the corner and noticed a figure standing on our carport roof looking through a window into one of the upstairs bedrooms. The sun was setting, so all I could see was the dark silhouette. I yelled at it from the top of the driveway and it was gone. It went away. I remember thinking it was odd that my dog didn't bark or notice anything. So I went inside, checked the house, the dog, the windows, the doors, etc., and everything seemed to be in place. I assumed I had just seen a shadow from a nearby tree at sunset or something. The following night, I walked home from work and everything seemed normal. I checked all the windows, the doors, let the dog inside for the evening, and eventually put him and myself to bed. My bedroom was upstairs, down the hall from the room next to the carport roof. So the guy was looking in another room.
Okay.
Before bed, I had a routine of shutting all the doors in the house as they were all squeaky and the drafts would often blow them closed if they were left open. This night, I closed all the doors, checked the locks, turned off the lights, and went to sleep. In the middle of the night, I was awoken by something. Not sure what, but when I came to, focused my eyes and looked around, I saw the hallway light was coming through under my door. I thought I had turned it off, but perhaps I forgot. Right then, my doorknob started rattling, like someone was struggling to open it. I immediately lay back down on my side, facing the wall opposite my bed, and my heart starts beating hard. I hear the door open and close my eyes. I figured if someone is breaking in, I'll pretend I'm asleep and they'll take whatever they want and leave.
Oh, God.
I slowly open one eye, the one against the pillow so it's less obvious, and I see the light from the hallway on my wall. My bedroom door is fully open. My heart is beating harder. I lay still. I see the digital clock on my CD player, and it's a little after 2 a.m. Then I hear the door creak again and watch the light on my wall slowly start to disappear. The bedroom door is closing.
Ooh.
At this point, I'm positive.
Where is your dog?
I know. I asked that. Hold on. At this point, I'm positive we're being robbed, but I continue to pretend I'm asleep. Keeping one eye open, everything is heightened. The loudest noise is my heartbeat, but I try to listen through it and I can't hear anything. No breathing, no footsteps, nothing. At this point, I begin to feel pressure around both my feet.
Stop.
The blanket is getting tighter around them, and I realize that now something is sitting at the end of my bed.
Oh, my God.
I look at the clock again, and now it's just before 3 a.m. This has been almost an hour.
Oh, my God.
I'm frozen, scared, and have no idea what's happening. At some point, I have the idea to slowly readjust my position in bed and move my feet a little to see if something moves or happens. So I do this, and just as I slowly readjust my feet, I feel them hit something solid. Someone is definitely sitting on my bed.
Oh my God.
I don't know what to do at this point, so I stay still and listen while looking through one eye at the clock on the bedroom wall. The next thing I remember is hearing the first bird start to chirp before sunrise. I look at the clock and it's now a little before 6 a.m. And I notice the room is a little brighter and the sun is coming up. Shortly after this, I feel the pressure lift from my end of the bed. The person was still sitting there.
Stop.
I hear the bedroom door open. I see the light from the hallway on the wall again, and then the door shuts and the sun starts to rise. I got up shortly after this and checked the whole house. All the doors and windows were locked. The dog slept through the night, and nothing from the house was missing. My cat was stuck in the bathroom overnight. He must have followed me in when I brushed my teeth without me noticing. Not sure what happened, but I won't forget that night in Noble Park. That's it.
What?
He
never like peeked and looked at someone on the end of his bed?
No, he felt them and he saw them.
I need this bed layout.
Open the door and close it, but he didn't know who it was. Nothing. He asked his neighbors if they had any break-ins, and they're like, no. He said his dog is the ultimate protector, but once you knew him, he didn't bark at you. So I'm like, so did you know this person? Ew.
Oh,
they just watched him sleep. That's all.
That is so creepy.
For almost 4 hours.
How many times, I wonder, does he get told that it was sleep paralysis?
I don't know. But
probably
I would maybe think that if it was just the pressure on the bed, but seeing and hearing the door open and seeing the light on his wall. And seeing the figure before looking in the carport.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
God. So no. How creepy.
Very.
And he has a sister. Whose bedroom the creep was looking in?
Probably.
Is that who that creep was looking for?
Probably.
He knew mom and dad were out of town.
Oh, God.
Ugh. Isn't that creep City Johnson?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Story number 3 from our listener, Beth. Hey, girl. What's up?
Thank you.
I graduated college in May 2008 and returned home that summer, spending most of the time living with my best friend at her apartment. The guy I was hooking up with at the time, let's call him Joe, would often bring his buddies over to the apartment. We would pregame before going out. Duh.
Totally.
2008 was a great summer, is what I'll tell you.
Oh, my God. Forever. We lived in Athens, Georgia. We were just living life.
We had the best summer. Joe had a friend named Mike Mealy who had come from a wealthy family.
We're not going to fake name Mike?
No, we're not going to fake name Mike.
I guess we're not going to fake.
We're not fake naming Mike. He doesn't need an alias. No need.
Oh, Mike, we can Google him.
Yes. Mealy, M-E-L-E.
All right.
He had come from a wealthy family.
Piece of shit.
I actually thought you knew who it was.
No.
You probably went on a date with him. He did a stint in DC.
I probably did.
12. Oh my God. Rebecca could do a separate podcast just on DC dating stories circa 2010 to 2016 or whatever. What do you think?
It's exactly the years I lived there, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if you moved out in 16.
Yeah.
Finally, got the hell out of there.
I loved it.
I know, but then I missed those stories so much. They were just fascinating. Anyway, Mike had come from a wealthy family and would always offer to buy us drinks. Kind of one of those guys who are trying to buy friends. I'm not saying I'm proud of it, but what I am saying is I was 21 and broke. So anyone wanting to buy me a shot or two on a night out, I'm not saying no.
Girl, no judgment.
Please.
There
was a time where I was so broke, I would bring my own beers to the bar. So figure that one out.
Yeah.
A few times.
Serve Milwaukee's best again.
No, I played it cool. It was Miller Lite bottles. Thank you. A few times he would offer to pick us up from the apartment in his Lamborghini. I always wanted to accept, but my best friend, who is apparently a much better judge of character than I am, would say every time, it's one thing to accept a drink directly from a bartender that this guy pays for. It's another thing to accept a ride from him. She never trusted him.
Go, best friend.
I know. She said he gave her a bad feeling. This basically all continued through that summer, partying it up until we all sort of parted ways and stopped hanging out in the fall. I emailed back and asked her what about his personality set off red flags for her friend. And she said she talked to her friend and she said he was just a bitch ass who wanted to impress us with his money. And he just totally creeped me out. Which,
totally get it.
Get up.
I picture Jason Bateman, not Jason Bateman. I love him.
Oh my God.
You know,
No.
Bateman.
Bateman.
Psycho. Christian Bale.
What?
Not Bateman at all. Christian Bale in American Psycho. That's what I get. The vibe I'm getting from this guy.
Okay.
Okay.
Never seen it. At me. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah.
I went on a date with a guy in DC who
I
used
knew you were
to
gonna say
get
that.
hard watching that.
Gross.
Hard.
Ew.
It's disgusting.
I've never seen it, but that sounds alarming.
It is. It's crazy.
He would get an erection while watching American Psycho.
Yep.
That's just one of the many tales Rebecca has.
Putting the puppy in the ATM machine.
What?
It's weird, man.
Oh. And we know how he turned out.
Not good.
Not good. That very December, just a few months later, my best friend calls me freaking out, telling me that Mike Mealy was being investigated in the disappearance of a girl he met at a club in the city, New York City.
Oh.
Come to find out, he was a registered sex offender for having exposed himself to people and masturbated in a parking lot. Ew. I have more on that. And that December, he met a girl at a club in the city and took her home in his car back upstate to where we live. Her name was Laura Garza, and she was an absolutely beautiful young woman from Texas who had moved to the city to become a dancer. Unfortunately, on April 11th, 2010, more than a year after she disappeared after having left the club with Mike Mealy, some kids on an ATV found her skeletal remains in a field approximately 120 miles from Manhattan.
No.
I still get the chills thinking about the number of times I tried to get into his cool car and the number of times I can thank my best friend that I didn't.
There you go.
I looked up this case and this guy. Holy shit. So, Laura Garza was from McAllen, Texas, and she moved to Brooklyn in 2008 to pursue a dance career. On December 3rd, 2008, she met Mike at the nightclub Marquee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They were seen on surveillance footage leaving together around 4 a.m. in the morning and spotted again later that morning in Newburgh, New York, which is like 65 miles north of the city. He lived in an apartment in Wallkill, New York, which is like 13 miles from Newburgh. So just upstate. This creep was the main suspect from day one, obviously, but especially since he had several sex offense convictions in New York. Most of them involved approaching women while masturbating. Those were his sex convictions.
Stop.
The fuck, he had a few in Jersey too. So they question him, but he refuses to cooperate. They seize his car and search his apartment where they found a big chunk of carpet missing. Sus.
Oh.
Since they didn't have hard evidence, they couldn't arrest him for her murder, but they did get him on a parole violation. So that's how they arrest him. I don't know what the violation was. He probably can't go out till the wee hours of the morning while he's on parole. But anyway, they get him in custody. Her skeletal remains were found by a bunch of teenagers on ATVs, like she said, right outside of Scranton, Pennsylvania, a year and a half after her disappearance. Yeah. He was arrested and he confessed to suffocating her in his apartment after she found out he had a girlfriend and got upset. He then put her body in a laundry basket and drove it to the woods outside of Scranton and dropped her.
What?
He got a plea deal and pled guilty to first-degree manslaughter and tampering with evidence and was sentenced to 23 years in prison. As Beth put it, he pled guilty to avoid trial, again, like a little bitch ass. She also noted that the police found a ton of pictures on a camera of Mike's, and they were all of various women from behind. Like, they did not know their picture was being taken. Those women, Laura Garza and my best friend, all seem to have the same type, that same look, dark hair, similar complexion, petite, whereas I'm blonde hair, blue-eyed, 5'9". Perhaps my friend was just more of his type and took more of his attention, and that's why he creeped her out.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that insane? That's that creep Mike Mealy. That's why we're not giving him an alias, because he's in prison. You can Google him.
Oh, I can't wait to do that. I can't wait to do that. Yeah, that would be very creepy to realize that a pseudo friend of yours is a murderer.
Like, and you were hanging out with him all summer and he did that. That was, a couple months later.
They wouldn't if he was not cooperating, I'd be like, fine, I'll look at your cell phone records. If you're pinging in Scranton, Pennsylvania, it's on you.
Well, yeah. I think they did. I didn't do,
Yeah.
There was a big investigation, but it was very, there was no other suspect. They knew. They just had to get him.
How do you spell Mike Mealy?
Mele. There's a Mike Mealy who was charged with like stamp fraud in Ohio. Ignore him.
I don't want to. I will ignore him. That sounds like a boring ass crime.
What are you doing?
Oh, wow.
New York. Do Laura Garza.
She is beautiful.
Gorgeous. Isn't she so pretty?
Oh, he's exactly what I pictured. Little schmuck. Oh, you're on Vandersloot.
Yeah, just, And he was like the rich kid who wanted to hang out with like the tough guys.
Yeah, what does daddy do?
His dad bought him a Quiznos or something. They franchised something, I think. Something like that. Story number 4, Carrie. Not prom night Carrie. Our listener Carrie.
Like the movie Carrie?
Right. This girl was made fun of in high school. And the night of prom,
pig's blood
dumped on her. Okay. You need to know that I love this disclaimer. This is why I was like, oh, I can't wait to read this email if it starts like this. You need to know that I'm a very logical, rational, and practical person who does not believe in ghosts or spirits. I promise this story happened and it is 100% true. I will swear on a stack of Bibles in one hand. I will swear on a stack of Bibles in one hand and a picture of Billy Graham in the other hand.
Okay, but you need to send us a picture of you doing that. Okay.
Y'all, Billy Graham's a very famous minister. I don't know if everyone knows. He's from North Carolina. That's the only reason I know him. Nothing like this has ever happened to me before or since. I have no explanation. Okay, there's the disclaimer.
Damn.
I grew up an only child to a single mother in a small town. I came out of the womb with a book and my mom instilled a love of reading from day one. The town library was very close to our apartment, and I basically lived there and was practically raised by the librarians there as well as my mom, especially one named Marie.
She's Matilda.
I know. I would go almost every day on my way home from school growing up and spent most of my free time there. In addition to the librarians, there was a general maintenance guy / handyman named Tom who was a permanent fixture at the library as well for over 20 years. He had a thick head of brown hair that he wore in a bushy crew cut, thick metal rimmed glasses, and wore navy blue coveralls, one piece zipped up like a mechanic, but also like Michael Myers.
Yeah.
With his name embroidered on a patch.
Wow. Yeah.
I always thought Tom had a bit of a crush on my mom because he would blush whenever she came in and chatted with him. He was single with no family that anyone knew of, and he was very sweet and shy and very quiet, an absolute sweetheart of a man.
Where is this taking place?
A small town. She doesn't say where she's from. Why?
Already started picturing Tanya Cash's abductor, and then you said Tom.
Oh, yeah. His name was Tom.
Yeah.
As I got older, when I was in high school, I cut my hair shorter, dyed it platinum blonde, and would roll it with hot rollers. Total retro bombshell 90s vibes. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to the library for the first time after I did it, Tom saw me and began calling me Marilyn after Marilyn Monroe.
Mm-hmm. Tom's grooming you.
Wow. A swing and a miss. A swing and a miss. So hold on right there.
Okay.
Time went on, and I graduated from high school and went out of state to college. I didn't come home for close to a year, and when I finally did, one of my first stops was to the library. I walked in to get a stack of books to curl up with during my break and said a big hello to Marie and started diving into the stacks. As I was browsing, I heard the familiar squeaky wheels of the cart turn the corner, and I looked up and saw Tom pushing it. He had a big smile and said, "Hey, Marilyn's back," and gave me a hug. We chatted for a little bit as he shelved books and asked me about college and how my mom was. At one point, a book with a bright red cover slipped out of his hands and onto the floor. I reached down to pick it up and handed it back to him so he could shelf it, watching as he wedged it into the last space at the end of the shelf. After we caught up, I gave him another big hug and told him that I'd be back before I left again to go to college to say goodbye, and took my stack of books to the front desk, leaving him to his shelving. "Say hi to your mom for me, Marilyn, and don't forget to come back and see me," he said as I walked away. As Marie checked out my books, she asked me a question about college, and I replied, "Oh, that's funny. Tom just asked me the very same thing." She looked up at me with a funny look and said, "Tom?" I said, "Yeah, he caught me back there in the nonfiction while he was shelving, and we just had a little catch up. Again, she looked at me funny and said, Tom? And I said, yes, Tom, why are you looking at me crazy? She quietly took my hands in hers across the desk and said, Tom died 6 months ago. He didn't show up for work for 2 days, which was so unlike him. We had his landlord do a welfare check. And when he walked into his apartment, he found him hanging by his belt in the closet.
Stop.
He left a suicide note and left his entire estate to the library.
Oh.
I ran back to the stack where I just talked to him, and there was nothing, no trace of the cart or Tom. But the book with the bright red cover was there at the end where I just watched him shelf it into place.
Stop.
Isn't that creep? Not creep. It's sad. It's like sweet. And you were like really dogging Tom just a second ago. Do you remember that?
I didn't mean to. I had Tanya Cash's abductor in my head. She was also platinum blonde. Also the look of the, the retro.
Yeah. 90s. 90s. Isn't that sad?
Wow. That is really sad. Cool, though.
It is cool. I like it.
Have you seen him since? Have you seen him since?
Have you been back to the library and have you seen? I should have responded and asked her that. Here's my thing, too. I really like this story. I usually don't love the ghost stories. I'll tell y'all that right now. I don't know why. And I don't know what the criteria is. Sometimes I love them. Sometimes I don't. What is that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, sometimes it's just so unverifiable, or it can so easily be explained away. But a conversation cannot. And I believe you because of your disclaimer about Billy Graham in the beginning.
Yeah. You're gung-ho. And
you told me you're rational. So I don't think you would do this.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. There's just something. I don't know what the criteria is. Sometimes some of the ghost stories, I'm like, okay. I don't know.
I tend to like when I think, well, again, it's a hit or miss. I was going to say when the paranormal says something that actually comes true. Like, like one keeps coming into mind where it's like this woman, I was hiking alone. This woman kept like coming up and not saying anything and just kind of staring. And I was kind of getting creeped out, whatever. And then she said says something like, I hope your mom has forgiven me or something. And he was like, who the hell are you? And then they later found out like a few days later that his mom's sister passed away and they were like estranged, like never saw it.
God,
like never
Reddit
talked
story
about
that
it or
sounds
whatever.
So familiar.
Something like that.
And
he's like, Dad, that was Aunt. Like the obituary came out and there's a picture of her and it was like, Dad, that's the woman in the woods. Yeah.
Yes.
Type of things where it's like, okay.
Yes.
But then that could be false. That could be all a lie.
I know. What is that?
I don't know.
I think, I don't know. I don't know what it is. Usually paranormal, I'm like, usually not into it.
Unless it's like a person, like firsthand I'm talking to and you tell me that story. I don't know. Like hearing it from a third party on Reddit or something. I'm like, I don't know you. I don't know if you're rational or not. You, listener, I do believe
Carrie is.
Carrie's rational.
I do believe it. I just liked that story.
I love that one. I actually got chills.
See?
Yeah.
It's just,
there's no, what's the line? What's the line?
I don't know. Someone explain it to me. Why am I interested in some and not others? I don't know. Thank you. All right. Our sixth and last story. How about that 6? Wow.
I know. It's going by too fast for me.
Fifth. Sorry. I misnumbered them. Fifth and last story from Melissa. Ooh, this is okay. Here's our Halloween one, bitches.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. In early October 2010, I was 22, living alone in a quiet residential neighborhood in a small town in Northern California. My longtime boyfriend, now husband, was serving overseas with the Marines. Oh, good for you. Thank you, husband.
Thanks.
I didn't like to be alone, so I almost always had friends coming and going. One night, I hosted a Halloween party and had 30 or 40 people coming and going in costume from 9 p.m. until about 3 a.m. During the course of my party, I was in the kitchen doing shots with some of my friends. This sounds so fun.
I know.
Fun. Anyway, I was in the kitchen doing shots with some of my friends, and I looked out the kitchen window and past the dancing zombies and vampires in my closed-in porch was a figure in the backyard. I assumed it was someone smoking, but they were just standing there in a Michael Myers costume. The mask almost glowed in the dark backyard. Shut the fuck up.
Y'all.
But it's a party and I brushed it off. The Rob Zombie Halloween 2 had just come out the year before, and it was a popular costume that year. That movie sucked. I'll tell you that.
It's too
right
dark,
now.
man. Yeah, Rob Zombie's a
actual dark too. Like it was messed up, but like the setting, the whole movie is dark. It all is at nighttime. It like messes with you. I don't like it.
Yeah. It's the one where they like tell Michael Myers' childhood story where he's like killing a bunch of animals. I'm like, all right, can we just like get back to a guy?
That one? Okay,
I think, yeah.
one.
Like, can we get back to the guy in the mask, just
It's
like
awful.
stalking babysitters with cheesy lines? Like,
yes, it was that. We went to the theater and saw that. It sucked. I don't like the Rob Zombie ones.
Yeah,
and we're connoisseurs. That was so that was a popular costume that year. However, the one in my backyard was the classic Halloween, not the new one. You know how he changed the mask a little bit?
Sure.
So I kept partying. Later, I had said goodbye to the last guest and sat down on my front porch to have a smoke when I saw a figure walking down the street. It was the same guy from the backyard. He was still in costume, walking slowly down the street towards my house. I didn't want to appear panicked, and he was too close for me to run and successfully escape. The only people close to me were a few passed out friends in the living room, too drunk to drive. He got right to the walk in front of my house and stopped. All hope that he would just pass by evaporated. He slowly turned to look at me and pulled out a huge kitchen knife out of his pocket.
Oh, no. Halloween's over. Calling the police. Thank you.
At this point, I'm ready to scream and run, regardless of how successful it would be, when loud music makes both of us jump. A car pulled into my driveway, and my friend jumps out with her boyfriend in the driver's seat. She's not wasted, but she's definitely had a few. She totally misses the guy and says, "Hey, I forgot my phone." I look back, and the Michael Myers guy is gone. I didn't hear him run off or anything, but I will always be grateful for her forgetful ass. I did call the police, but they canvassed the neighborhood and found nothing. They chalked it up to some guy pulling a prank. However, for me, I'm always haunted by the fact that he was in my backyard. If you use this, feel free to use my name. Did I use your name? I think so. Melissa, I love the podcast. So I emailed back and I asked her if any of her friends had any interactions with him or knew who the guy dressed as Michael Myers was. And she said, over the years, I've talked to several of my close friends who were at the party, and people remember seeing him walking around, but no one talked to him. What's really creepy is I have like 24 pictures from that night, and none of them have him in it. Gives me the creeps every time I think about it. Isn't that crazy?
That is so weird. How long after the party had ended when she was just outside by herself?
I think she said she had just said bye to her last guest, and she said it went until about 3 a.m. So it was and so again, I pondered that one because I was like, that probably was a prank. But then it's like what you told in the first creepy listener story. There was no punchline. He never ripped the mask off and said, "Ha, gotcha."
Right.
And that's too committed for a prank. To do that all night until the 3 a.m. No. What are you doing?
And to pull out an actual knife, I assume it was an actual knife, not a rubber one or something. I'm like, but I don't know. Even if you didn't get to deliver the punchline because someone messed it up by pulling in the driveway, you'd call the next day and be like, that was me, because you know someone's going to call the police. A knife was just pulled on you by none other than Michael Myers.
Right?
Halloween or not, that is scary.
Scary as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Thank y'all
those were so good.
Much.
They're so fun to listen to.
Y'all have crazy
and to
stories.
Read. Yeah.
Y'all are sorry about this. I know
y'all been through some shit, man.
Wow. Patrons, Michelle, Stacy, Kendra, Marlon, Molly. Thank y'all for joining.
Thank you.
Some custom shout outs. The first is from Alexis. I want to shout out my friends. Oh gosh, this is an Irish name. I want to shout out my friends Siobhan and Bridget for taking my advice and finally listening to your podcast. Oh, hey. I binged them all and I'm obsessed. Lastly, I want to shout out my fur baby Guinness, who listens with me and is the best boy ever. Okay, it is Irish. I love it.
Yay.
Hey, Siobhan, Bridget, and Guinness, and Alexis.
Hey.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
The next one is, oh my God, y'all, I copy and paste the custom shout outs and I don't read them first. These aren't just humble brags.
Sure.
Anna wants to shout out you two ladies. Thanks for being the best podcast. Seriously. Y'all, it really does sound like I just jot these down, don't I? Love the way y'all tell stories, and y'all always crack my ass up. Also, my BFF, Emily, she's my fellow crime lover, and I'm from Memphis, so go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Love Memphis.
Oh, thank you for joining. Oh, sorry.
Calm down. Last one. From Caitlin. To my boss, Dawn, sorry for getting you hooked on another pod, but I can't wait to talk true crime between you and bugging you with my million questions. No, that's what she's there for, Caitlin.
Yeah.
She's a good boss.
She loves it.
That's a good boss.
That is a good boss.
Y'all, thank y'all for joining.
Thank you so much
for listening. Thank y'all for writing in your creepy ass stories. Keep
y'all
them coming.
Are the best. People are the worst.
The actual worst. Bye-bye.
Bye. Happy Halloween.